Hi there, welcome to Built Not Bought by Bruce. So the Econoline progresses, made good headway on it here yesterday. I have a couple days off this week, so figured I'd get some good work done on it. Just wanted to show you what I'm working on with those spring perches, the mounts for the rear leaf springs. I'm going to take some video underneath the truck and show you that, what I've done to clean it up under there and stuff. As I told you before, there is some, well, there's lots of corrosion in there, but nothing that we can't fix. So there's some corrosion in there. What I want to do, my challenge was this. The frame rails, it's a unibody design, so they're spot welded to the floor of the box. The frame rails appear to be zinc coated in some way. Doesn't look like your typical galvanizing, maybe like a satin coat, something like that. Generally not great to weld to. You have issues with gases and stuff coming off of it. And I really didn't want to get into that, and I don't have, I don't have a respirator. I don't have an clean air system. And I don't have a good evacuation system and stuff, and being under the truck, I just thought, don't really want to get into that. Not to mention the fact that it's dirty, it's old, there's corrosion, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So welding is not going to be any fun under there. It's going to be dirty. Also, going to have issues. And again, I'm not a professional welder. I can stick some stuff together, and I'm pretty happy with a few of the welds I did yesterday. I can get things to work, but upside down, backhanded, whatever welders call that stuff, I do okay when I'm on a bench where I'm pointed down with the torch and I'm working that way. So lots of issues back there. So I came up with an idea, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. I've cleaned the frame rails, cleaned that area really well, got all the old mount off of there and everything. I've taken measurements to get the new mounts to the right place. And being that I'm going to replace the floor in the box anyway, there's some patch panels available that I think will work out well. So what I came up with is this is the piece that goes on the outside of the frame rail. So let's put ourselves on the passenger side of the truck. So this is going to go on the outside of the frame rail. This is exactly the width of the frame rail. And then I made up this piece to go inside the frame rail, which is why the base is narrower. And with that inside the frame rail and that one outside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt this to the frame rail to each other. So I'm going to sandwich the frame rail material, the sheet metal, because I don't think, there's no way it's 16 gauge, I don't think, so it might be 20, something like that. But the way they constructed it, it's good and strong. It's not a 90-degree angle. It's 5 degrees off. So I built that in. So I spent yesterday getting these lined up and welding them up. And for the outside one, I don't know if you can see that, I welded it full length, and then I've ground it just because I want a clean look. And I don't want anything sharp on there that a guy would cut his hand on or anything. Once I get this in and undercoat it and everything, then I think that'll look fine on the outside. On the inside one, what I did was I ran, let's see if you can see them if I do this. A little higher, Bruce. There we go. So you can see there, I'm not unhappy with those welds. I think they look pretty good. My ESAB MIGmaster 203 does a pretty good job with that kind of stuff. I'm happy with that. So this is good and solid, and I believe this is 1/8 inch material, by the way. So I believe once I get those bolted together and sandwich that frame, it's going to be real good and real strong. Now what happens from there, I still have to cut the angle on this piece. But this is what the spring, what would that be? I guess the spring perch. This is what it's going to sit on. So this needs to get welded to this outer one, and I have to cut the 5 degrees off the edge here. This is going to get welded on here so it sits flat. This will support the floor of the box just like the original one did, except it was spot welded and it was just sheet metal. So that's going to do that. This is going to be plenty strong for the spring mount, for the front spring mount. This side I'm going to put a plate on and bolt it to the inner panel behind this mess here. So I'll get that all bolted in place, and that will be nice, and that'll tie the outside to the frame rail. Yeah, that should work pretty good. That's my plan. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to mention is you can see if I line that up at the top, what I've done here effectively is I've lowered the suspension a little more than an inch, probably 1.25 inches from where it sat originally. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to have a big strong piece back there. I'm going to lower the ride height a little bit. In the front end I can adjust the ride height. It's got really long shackles on the rear of the springs, so I can change those from a straight shackle, put like a 45 degree bend in them and shorten them up, and that'll get the front end down a little bit too. Cheap way of doing it, you know, pretty simple stuff. I'm hoping it'll work out pretty well. So I wanted to update you on that. Today is going to be about sort of cleaning up those frame rails. Then I got to let the truck down, climb in the box, and I got to cut enough of the floor away to be able to drop this inner piece down into that frame rail. And just so you know, because I like to share everything with you guys so that I don't miss any steps, I'm going to take these, I'm going to use a spacer in here to simulate the frame being there. I'm going to put a spacer in, clamp these together, and then take them over to the drill press, pre-drill all my holes so that these are lined up ready to go. Then I'll take the outer, put it on the outside of the frame, mark the holes, drill the holes in the frame rail, and everything should line up real nice once I get all the pieces in there. The other nice thing about doing it this way is this is going to allow me to, before I bolt this in, I'm going to be able to test fit the rear end, make sure that everything lines up, get it exactly centered right where I want it. If I have to make any last minute adjustments about, you know, 1/2 inch forward, 1/2 inch back, something like that, which I don't think I'll have to, but anyway. What this is going to allow me to do is do all my finish welding to the spring perch on here with the rear end out of the truck. Again, that's going to allow me to weld in a position that I'm comfortable with without having to get, you know, lay on my back and try and do something that way. And because that spring mount has a bit of a bevel or an angle to it as well, I'm going to cut, probably use material like this. I'm going to cut wedges that I can drop down in there and then weld them up, and that'll make it nice and strong, and I won't have to bend those original pieces. I'll maintain the strength of that angle and put a nice spacer in there. So lots of work to do, lots of welding, lots of fab, but I think you know, once it's all bolted in there, it's going to be way stronger than what the factory did, and should be you know, nice and solid for the new box floor to go in. It should all work out pretty well, and yeah, and it'll be a little bit lower to boot. So like I say, I'm into this for less than $100 worth of materials right now, and some time. Yeah, I could have gone crazy and back half the thing and bought a trick 4-link rear end and whatever, but you know what, I told you, this is just a shop truck. This is just a fun truck. I want to go crazy with the paint. I want it to look like $1 million. You know what, the original 6-cylinder, the original rear end, all that stuff, it'll be just fine. That's I don't need to go crazy and drop a V8 in there and get all hot roddy on this one. There's better trucks to work with to do a hot rod project. So that's where we're at. I'll keep you informed. All right, so I told you I'd show you what I got going on under here. What I have here is, that's where the old spring perch mounted to. As well, you can see where I've had to drill out all the spot welds. And take all that out. So there's that corrosion that I was talking about. You know, the rust, the hole. But that's only right where that spring perch was mounted. The other side is good. Most of what's inside there seems fine. So that's why I think my plan, sandwiching those two plates on there, is going to work out pretty well. So that's this side, as you can see there. And if we take a look up here, again, there's where I drilled out all those spot welds, the frame, the outside. It's all pretty good. Again, that back piece is not straight up and down. It's got an angle. It's angled back towards the rear end. So we'll make a nice little spacer to go in there. Cleaned up pretty well. I got lots of good material to work with to weld to there. And again, I'm going to be able to do all of this with it out of the truck, and then when I'm ready, slide this under, bring the truck down, get it in place, put those bolts in, bolt it in, and we should be real good. So that's what we're up to, and we'll have more for you soon.